Hi, everybody. I'm back again, and here we are to begin chapters 4 and 5. Before I begin to read chapter 4, I just want to remind you about what happened in chapter 3 when we left off. And Louisiana was in the car, driving the car actually, taking her grandmother to find a dentist. So you can imagine what this next adventure is going to be like with Louisiana behind the wheel of a car. Chapter 4, page 25. You may be surprised to learn that I've never driven a car before. However, I had certainly spent a lot of time watching Granny drive, and I had learned some things. I knew to lean as far forward as I could. I knew to press on the gas pedal to make the car go. Also, I had a good idea of where the brake was, and steering was easy. I had no problem at all with steering. Several semis blew their horn at me as they went barreling down the highway, and I took this as criticism that I was not going fast enough. I blew my horn back at them, and then I gave it more gas. Granny was moaning in the back seat. "Don't worry, Granny," I shouted at her. "I'm going to find you a dentist." She did not answer me. I believe that she was in so much pain that she had lost the ability to form words. I had never known her to be in such a state. I felt a wild shot of joy go through me. I made the car go faster. In the back seat, Granny moaned louder, and then louder still. I loved driving. However, it came to me after some time of flying down the highway that I wasn't sure how to find a dentist. There were billboards for real estate and hotels and pecan pies. I loved pecan pies, but there were no signs for dentists. I figured that I was going to have to exit the highway. According to the signage, Richford was the next town. Richford, Georgia. It sounded like the kind of town that would have a dentist. I took the exit. And that is where my problems truly began. Driving down the highway is easy. Getting off the highway is not. At least it was not easy for me. I knew that I needed to slow down. I knew the brake pedal was next to the gas pedal, and I moved my foot in that direction, and then I pressed the brake pedal very hard. We came to a stop with a surprising amount of speed. We also did a lot of spinning around. Granny was thrown off the back seat and onto the floor. Empty peanut bags and other items were flying through the air. We stopped so fast that my whole life and everything that had ever happened to me flashed through my head. I am only 12 years old, but several exciting things have occurred to me in those 12 years. For instance, in 1975, I was crowned Little Miss Central Florida Tire and received a check for $1,975. Also, that same year, I almost drowned, and when I was underwater, I saw the blue fairy from Pinocchio. The blue fairy is very beautiful. I don't know if you know this or not. She's very beautiful and very kind. And when I was underwater and almost drowning, the blue fairy opened her arms to me and smiled. Her blue hair was floating above her head, and there was a light all around her. And then Raimi came and saved me from drowning, and the blue fairy floated away. She went in the opposite direction, deeper into the pond. She looked extremely disappointed as she left. I've never told anybody that before, about the blue fairy appearing to me and how sad she seemed that I was not going with her, but I'm writing it down now. There's a great deal of power in writing things down. I just want to pause here a minute and ask you to remember that line on page 29, because I'm going to ask you later to respond to that in a question on the Google Classroom. There's a great deal of power in writing things down. By continuing on with the highlights of my life, my parents were famous trapeze artists known as the Flying Elephants. Trapeze artists are men and women who walk the tightrope and do flips and jumps all over. They are dead, and I do not remember them at all. I have only ever known Granny. She's been my mother and my father. She's taught me everything I know. I have a cat named Archie, and there's also Buddy, the one-eyed dog. He's the dog of our hearts, and he lives with Beverly. But truthfully, Buddy belongs to all of us, me and Raimi and Beverly, because we rescued him together. And of course, there is the curse. The curse came about because my great grandfather, the magician, sawed my great grandmother in half and refused to put her back together again, on stage, in front of an audience. This, as you can imagine, had disastrous and far reaching consequences. The curse is a curse of sundering, and it is a very complicated and tragic curse. That means, tragic means awful, terrible, sad. In any case, those are the important facts of my life, and I considered them all in the long moment of the car spinning around and the empty peanut bags flying through the air. When all the spinning and flying and considering was done, I realized that we had somehow gone entirely off the road. The car was sitting in the grass on the side of the exit ramp. Granny was still on the floor in the back. I could hear a cricket chirping. Crickets are good luck. That is what some people believe. I sat there and listened to the cricket and thought about how driving is much more complicated than I had imagined. It turns out that many things are more complicated than I ever thought they would be. The cricket kept singing. There's a cricket in the story of Pinocchio. Most people don't know this, but Pinocchio kills the cricket right in the beginning of the story. Yes, kills him with a mallet. A mallet is a wooden kind of hammer that you might use like to when you're eating crab legs or things. Whenever a cricket shows up after that, he's just a ghost. Can you imagine being the ghost of a cricket? That has got to be the most insubstantial thing of all. Insubstantial means not meaningful or not important. I have to say that it doesn't seem one bit lucky to me. Granny climbed back up onto the seat. She sat up and looked around. She said her new favorite word, dentist, and then she lay back down and moaned. The car was still running. The engine was making some sputtery noises, but it was still going. And yes, we were on the side of the road, but I figured if I applied the gas pedal, we could get off the side of the road and continue on our journey. And guess what? I was right. I applied the gas, and the car went roaring up the embankment and back onto the macadam. The macadam is the blacktop on a highway. I felt proud of myself. I continued down the road to Richford, Georgia. I drove with some caution. I kept my eyes open for a sign that said dentist. Chapter 5, page 33. You have to make small plans. This is one of the things I've discovered in this world. It is pointless to make big plans because you never know when someone is going to wake you up in the middle of the night and say, "The day of reckoning has arrived." Days of reckoning interfere with big plans. So I made small plans. The small plans were keep the car on the road, find a dentist, never forgive Granny. Although when I think about it, never forgiving Granny would probably go in the big plan category. Granny moaned. She said, "Why must you haunt me? What do you want from me?" She also said the word dentist from time to time. I kept my mouth shut. I did not offer Granny any comfort to speak of. And what can I say in my defense, except that I was very angry and also that I was doing my best under difficult circumstances. Finding a dentist is not as easy as you might imagine. Nothing is. I just want to pause here and point out that Granny was probably in a lot of pain, obviously, but she didn't quite know what she was saying. She might have been going in and out of being like delirious, or just when you're in a lot of pain, sometimes you just moan and groan and say things that you don't even know what you're talking about. So that's probably what was happening while she was in the back seat. Richford was not a big town. I went past a school and several houses and a church, and also a pink cement building that had a sign out front that read, Bill's Taxidermy. A taxidermy is a place where people would skin dead animals and prepare the skins for either mounting on a wall or to stuff the skin and make it like a display piece that someone might put in their den or a library area. How could a town have a taxidermist in a pink cement building but not have a dentist? I saw a woman walking her dog down the side of the road, and I felt a pang. Who was taking care of Archie the cat? Who was taking care of Archie the cat? Was he right this very minute walking down the highway in search of me? He had done that before, found his way to me against all odds. "Where's Archie?" I shouted at Granny. Of course, she did not answer me. It seemed cruel to press her on the point when she was in so much pain. But as soon as she was not in pain, I intended to do exactly that, press her on the point. In the meantime, I had to find a dentist. I stopped the car. I did this by depressing the brake pedal very carefully and very slowly. And when we had stopped completely, I rolled down the window and called out to the lady with the dog. I said, "Excuse me, what's the name of your dog?" Granny moaned from the back seat. The woman looked at me. I think she was surprised to find a child behind the wheel of a car. Well, I was surprised too. So far, it had been a very surprising day. "Pardon me?" said the lady. "Does your dog have a name?" "Ernest," she said. "I have a cat named Archie," I told her, "and there is also a dog in my life. His name is Buddy. You'll be happy to know that my friends and I worked together to rescue Buddy from a very tragic situation. Buddy's a dog who has only one eye." "How old are you?" said the woman. Her eyes narrowed. "That is an irrelevant question at this juncture," I said, "isn't it?" I smiled at her, using all of my teeth. "I was wondering if you can tell me where the dentist is." So irrelevant means not important to what's happening at the moment. "I'm wondering if you can tell me where the dentist is." "Dr. Fox?" "Certainly," I said. "Should you be driving?" said the woman. "I should be driving," I told her. I gave her a very serious grown-up to grown-up sort of look. "The situation is dire." That means terrible or dreadful. Granny moaned from the back seat, as if working to prove my point. I smiled at the lady again. Ernest the dog looked up at me and wagged his tail. Animals of every sort have always immediately trusted me. Ernest had a very handsome tail. It was a burnished apricot in color. "I admire your tail," I said to Ernest. He wagged it some more. "Where is Dr. Fox?" I asked the lady. "You take a left on Glove Street," said the woman. "And then what?" I said. Granny groaned. "Who is that in the back seat?" said the woman. "That is my granny in the back seat. But continuing on with the directions, after I take the left on Glove Street, what do? Dr. Fox's office will be on your right." "Thank you very much," I told her. "Goodbye, Ernest." Ernest waved his impressive tail. I rolled up the window. The whole exchange had cheered me considerably. I had located a dentist. I had met a dog named Ernest. Also, I liked that Dr. Fox was on Glove Street. If you put the words together, they sounded like a song. I started to sing the Dr. Fox on Glove Street song. Where is Dr. Fox? You take a left on Glove, and then you continue on. You take a left on Glove, and you sing this song. Granny moaned from the back seat. I got so happy singing the Dr. Fox song that I almost forgot about all the wrongs I had suffered at Granny's hands. Almost.